right into it.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We're here for our 7:30 hearing tonight on the application of Michael and Emily Ryan. My name is Emmanuel Alves. I'm going to be acting chair for the meeting. To my left is board member Kathleen O'Donnell. To my right is board member Stephen Lundbaum. I'm going to read the advertising into the record, as well as some of the materials that accompany the application, and we'll introduce the applicants. So this is upon the application of Michael and Emily Ryan, dated March 5, 2018, on file with the Board of Appeals for a variance from the terms of Section 6C1 of the Milton zoning bylaws. The applicants propose to build an 18 by 18 by 2.5-story addition at the rear of the single-family home located at 54 Frothingham Street in Milton. Section 6C1 requires that new buildings or new portions of buildings be set back at a minimum of 10 feet from the side property line, whereas the applicants propose to have 6.8 feet from the side property line. Property is located in the Residency Zoning District. All is therein set forth in the application on file with the board. In addition to the advertisement which I just read, we have the application, the denial letter from the town building commissioner outlining the need for variance, a plot plan prepared by Michael Paul Antonino of Stoughton, Massachusetts, showing the property as well as the proposed addition, and some construction plans in 4 sheets, A1 through A4, showing exterior elevations, framing plans, foundation plans, floor plans, as well as the existing and a demolition plan. That is the application. Welcome to the Board of Appeals. Please identify yourselves, speak loudly and clearly. We're recording this. Your back will be on TV, I guess. Your backs.
Michael Ryan.
Emily Ryan.
And tell us about your application and why the board should grant it.
We're here tonight because we would like more space. We have 4 young children, and we only have 1 full bathroom. My mom, was just widowed for the second time, wants to be closer with us, so she'll be with us. And that's really it. We have an existing porch now, and we just want to follow that line. We did our kitchen over a few years ago, so we wouldn't be able to go over anymore because it would block the window. So we want to just stay in line with our existing porch and go back to the back. Our neighbors 2 houses down have the same addition off their back.
Okay. Anything else you would add?
No.
Say from World Sport.
Her speak.
A couple of questions I have for you. Have you spoken to your neighbors about this?
Yes.
What's their reaction?
There's been no opposition. Everyone's in support. The one it would affect the most is our neighbor, obviously, to our right. But our existing house now is closer to them than this addition will be. Their only concern was a tree that we may have to move or take down, but we are committed to moving that tree, relocating it for them. That was their only concern that they addressed with us. Other than that, they're in full support. Julie Kramer,
What's the last name?
Kramer, that's our neighbor to the right. She, supported us and just said, we realize how difficult it is to raise a family in this town.
So I'm looking for the,
This is our neighbor, Chris. He lives actually to the left of us.
Hi.
hello.
He's also in support. But yeah, neighbors all in the surrounding areas that it would affect, they've been in support for us, so.
So I'm trying to find the neighbor you referred to. Did you say Kramer with a
Yeah,
K?
yes, Skip and Julie, or it might be Warren. Kreamer.
E-A, K-R-E, okay.
Is that how you spell it?
You sure it's not Creamer? Maybe it's pronounced Creamer.
Creamer, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
With a C.
Is it with C?
Yeah.
What number Frothingham?
Are they 50? What number is your property?
It would be
54.
Yeah, they're 58?
Yeah.
That could be, yep, okay. C-R-E-A.
50, right?
C-R-E-A-M-E-R. 58 Frothingham. Anything else you want to add?
No, do you have any other questions?
Let me see if any of my colleagues have any questions.
Well, I just noticed, I noticed that when you have done this plan, that your existing house is pretty close to the right-hand side already, and this one is tucked back a little bit. And when I did look at the property, I was actually concerned about making sure that you did keep some screening between you and 58 Frothingham.
What's
So-
screening?
Well, like trees or,
Oh, yes, yes,
whatever
yes,
you've got.
yes.
Yes, I think, and I did notice that there's a house just 2 doors down that has the same kind of
Mm-hmm.
expansion. But I was a little bit concerned about making sure that there was some, if you did what you could
Yeah.
to save the trees and stuff that were on that
Yes.
property line.
Yeah, if we can't save the one that it's going to affect, we're going to move it or
Yeah.
replant.
Something like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
Chris, can we get your last name?
Yeah, it's Wason.
Wait.
Wait, hold on. Anyone here willing to speak in support of the application? We have Chris, and now you can spell your last name, sorry.
Wason, W-A-S-O-N.
W-A-S-O-N. Mr. Wason, welcome to the Board of Appeals. What would you like to say?
No, we just moved in back in August, and I know you guys have a and are looking to stay in the neighborhood. In the short time that we've been there, it's been great to have great neighbors, and we would hate to have them move away because they need to have a bigger property, a bigger house.
Give me, Ms. Wason, what's your address?
50 Frothingham. I'm right next door.
50?
50, yeah.
Thank you. Is anyone here in opposition to Ryan's application? Directly, we plug it to.
This is another neighbor in support. Peter,
Come on
Peter
up.
Hunt.
Sorry.
He's
Stand
next
by
to,
yourself and tell us your name and
Which,
address.
where do I need to be for the
That's
cameras?
thanks, Pete.
Hi, Peter Hunt, 48 Frothingham.
Welcome, Mr. Hunt. And you're opposing this?
I am, no, I am supporting the variance.
Thank you. And there's no one here in opposition. Unless there's anything you want to add, we will close the evidentiary portion of the hearing, and we are required by the open meeting law to deliberate and decide on this now. Well, would you like to be heard?
I'm in favor, and I just would like to sort of have it mentioned that, the tree would be relocated or replaced if necessary.
Okay.
No, it's a very well presented application. We appreciate you, especially talking to the neighbors. That's always very important. Once you get your neighbors on board, it makes our job a bit easier. And the fact that you've stepped it back a little from the existing sideline there is helpful. I know the area, I know it well. I'm always in tune to hearing about the needs of growing families and people that want to, remain in Milton and raise families in Milton. It's important to us as a board. It looks like a very tasteful design. Obviously well thought out, and the room placement looked really nice. So I think I would tend to vote in favor of the application, Mr. Chairman.
I was remiss in not asking you this, so I guess we're going back into the evidentiary portion. The idea is to have the addition conform to the existing structure, right? You're not going to build a bright pink.
No, it's going to be
It'll
uniform.
be uniform, the roof structure, the roof
Yes.
materials, everything will be consistent. And we typically ask applicant, we'll ask applicants and write in our opinions that the addition will be done substantially consistent with the materials you presented us, the plans. So if you're going to be departing from this in any material way, that could be problematic, because that's typically how we write it, so I just want to let you know that. With that said, I'll go back into deliberation, and I agree with my colleagues. It's less of an infringement into the space than the existing structure, well presented, the needs obviously there. I'll be inclined to vote in favor of the application. All in favor for granting the zoning variance?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Even though everybody voted in favor, we have, probably going to take a couple weeks to write this up and filed with the town. Contact Mrs. Fitzgerald and she'll walk you through it. There's a 20-day appeal period during which, even though no one appeared in opposition, someone could. Before you can pull a building permit, and make sure that you talk to Mary Fitzgerald. She'll explain all that to you. You need to file this with your records, with your deeds, so that it stays current. Congratulations.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I didn't get to
That's right.
Thanks again.
Sure.
Congratulations. Yep. Good luck.
Thank you. Take care.
Great.
It's great.
Welcome. Good luck.
Good luck.
Before the second period.
Good luck.
Take care. Good luck.
Good luck
Take
to the
care.
Bruins.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Thanks a lot. Take care.
We have 2 minutes.
That's great. Work it tonight.
Great, Melissa. I checked, I sent it through my bank on Thursday. At this point, I know that things. Yeah, I put it in. Sorry. If it doesn't work out, I. Perfect, yeah. No, I did that. Thank you.
Then we can't start yet, but.
On the clock.
Gives me time to check the score.
No score yet,
The score? Ooh,
at least.
I'll take a game
Did it
7.
start at 7?
What's that?
Just started.
Yeah, 2 minutes left in the first. Well, it may not have. There's was stuff, obviously in Toronto today. It was not
Right,
a good, was
right.
not a good day.
Oh,
Nope. Nope.
good.
Keeping us honest. 1 minute.
Today? Oh, I probably didn't.
Yeah.
We had to wait for the babysitter.
We had to wait for the babysitter.
Yes.
Do you want to pass these out?
God. 62.
That's all right.
Just wait.
It's a commercial. It's the game. That's live.
Yep.
We good?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are now going to open our 7:45 hearing tonight. This is on the application of Alyssa and Mark Fitzgerald, dated March 5, 2018, on file with the Board of Appeals for a variance from the terms of Section 6C2 of the Milton zoning bylaws. The applicants propose to keep a detached storage shed in the backyard of the single-family home located at 37 Chesterfield Road in Milton. Section 6C2 requires that accessory structures be set back a minimum distance of 8 feet from the side property line, whereas the applicant's existing shed is 0.1 foot from the right side lot line. The property is located in a residency district, and I just read the application into the record. In addition to the application, we have the denial letter from Mr. Prondak and a wetland and erosion plan showing the location of the property, as well as a plot plan prepared by Collins Civil Engineering Group, dated April 2nd, 2018, showing the Fitzgerald's property as well as the location of the shed in question. In addition to the above, we have some construction plans which seem to have been drawn when the shed was intended to be attached to the home. Could that be right?
Yeah, I think we did a renovation a year and a half ago. And when that finished, we got rid of our garage, so we needed,
Hold on one second.
okay.
Okay, so let me introduce myself, we'll introduce
Yes.
you, and then we'll have this
Sure.
conversation. So I'm Emmanuel Alves, am acting chair for this hearing. To my right is board member Steve Lundbaum, and to my left is board member Kathleen O'Donnell. Welcome to the Board of Appeals. Please identify yourselves, speak loudly and clearly, and tell us about your application.
Sure, thank you.
Good evening. Mark Fitzgerald of 37 Chesterfield Road, here on behalf of our home, along with my wife, Alyssa Fitzgerald.
Tell us why this
So
should be allowed.
I can show you, so we did a big renovation about a year and a half ago, and at the end of that, we needed storage space because we took down our garage, and we actually pulled our property 8 feet away from the neighbors, the abutting neighbors. I have pictures to show you.
Okay.
So we needed storage. I initially wanted to do something attached and came to your office, and it was sort of suggested that it would be much easier to just do a freestanding shed, and we were not aware of the 8-foot issue when we did that. I only want to put that on.
Along with the
We
pictures,
have a letter from our abutting neighbors saying that they have no issues with the shed. This is our old house, which was actually had a variance, I believe, that was grandfathered in, that was really close to the property line. So you can see we pulled the house 8 feet away from our neighbors there, and then this is the shed in question. And it's not, I guess the fence is not on the property line in the survey. You know, he said 0.1, but it's actually a couple of feet from the fence. I guess the fence is not on the property line, obviously.
All right, let me pass these.
Thank you, sorry. I
Yep,
didn't bring
I'm
very
gonna-
much
Nope,
copies.
that's all right. So let the record reflect that the Fitzgeralds brought some color photos showing the former location of their home as well as its current location and depicting the storage shed in question. Steve, you want to take a look at that? The board has also been presented with a letter from Keenan and Maureen Brin, B-R-I-N-N, of 31 Chesterfield Road. Before I read this into the record, relative to your property, where do the Brins live?
They are the abutters on the property line of the shed, that, on the other side of that fence that the shed is. So they're the 0.1, we're 0.1 feet away from their property line. you're looking at the house to the right.
So, to the right.
Show you,
Sure.
right, if you're looking at
On
the
this
shed
side.
here, they're right on this side, that's the prints.
And what's straight back?
A brook and neighbors behind us, I don't know, we've never really met them. In the summertime, you can't even see their home, it's just in this down here.
Okay, I'll read the Brim's letter into the record. Dear members of the ZBA, we are the neighbors of Alyssa and Mark Fitzgerald of 37 Chesterfield Road in Milton. It has come to our attention that the town inspector has notified Mark and Alyssa about concerns associated with their shed located in the backyard in the vicinity of our property line. Please let this letter confirm that we have no objection to the location of their shed where it is currently placed. We certainly welcome any further inquiry should that be required. I hope this concludes the matter for our neighbors. Thank you, Keenan and Maureen Brent. This will be part of the record. Anything else you want to add?
Well, certainly, our main goal was, when we did the renovation project, was obviously, at first, we wanted to attach the shed, but with us moving the property in about 8 feet, we actually have provided more privacy for our neighbors than existed prior to the time frame when the garage was there. As part of our property, which you can't see, we had a garage with multiple windows, and then behind the garage, there was a outdoor patio, which was directly next to the Brins property. So oftentimes, we would be sort of outside, working in the yard or on the grill next to their property, right next to them. With this project, we've in essence created almost more privacy for them. So certainly, as we look here tonight, we don't see that there are any of the neighbors, and I know you put our street as well as some homes on Brook Road on notice. We don't see that anyone else appeared objecting to it. We certainly feel that the shed that we put into our property, if anything, increased the property value and those of others, and certainly isn't a blight to the neighborhood. We have 3 young children, so we store a lot of items associated for the kids in that shed, which certainly looks a lot better than having a bunch of plastic furnishings sitting outside in our backyard or front yard, and I'm certain that our neighbors appreciate that. So that being said, obviously, we had no intent on trespassing or violating any of the town bylaws or codes. We certainly appreciate the time spent. We certainly have spent significant amount of time looking into this. We've certainly provided our financial resources associated with this endeavor now because of the result of this hearing and everything, and we certainly would ask that we be able to just move forward and keep the shed in its location, which we find to be reasonable in light of the situation.
Thank you. See if my colleagues have any questions for the applicants.
So tell me what happened. Did you know that when you put it in there that there could have been a setback issue? Because I know it started out as, it looked like it was going to be attached.
We wanted to do our neighbors across the street did an attached shed that looked aesthetically
Right.
pleasing, the way the construction was. So I came and started the application process and was sort of told that the cost and the variance process of doing that would be
Sure.
significant, and that I should just look into getting a detached shed.
Right.
And for some reason, we were under the impression, without having looked at the code ourselves, that there weren't any, if a detached shed wasn't, the setbacks weren't applicable to a freestanding detached small storage shed. Maybe that's in other zones outside the C zone.
Okay.
We used and also we used a shed company that's, I think they're nationally known. It was a company that we would have thought if they knew there was an issue or had an issue, they may have, without putting their name on the record here, they may have said something to us. So we didn't really have any,
They
there's
drop
no
it in there, or
intent.
did they build it from
Yeah, they built it
studs up, or
right.
did they just drop it in?
They built it right up. I mean, it sits on cinder blocks.
Just for clarity, I guess, the application talks about 0.1 foot from the right
So
lot line, but
The fence
that's
must
not-
not be on the property line. because our survey, Collins Engineering, who did it, and they did all of our surveys throughout. We went through a petition with the Conservation Commission back when we built a deck, because we have the brook behind our property.
Yeah.
So we have used him several times over the past few years
So
to
is
do.
that, is that? is
So it
that-
must be that the Brins fence, that's their fence that they own, must be further into their property and not on
Well,
the actual
yeah,
property
it shows on the
line.
plan that it's not
Yeah.
on the property line.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
We were, I mean, that fence was there when we moved in 9 years
So
ago.
who come up with the .1? Did that come off
That was
of
Collins,
Collins?
yeah. We measured it, with the,
Okay.
measuring
measured
stick,
it
it
with
was
a
probably about
yardstick.
2.5 feet
Okay.
from the fence, but he said actually the .1 is the property line.
Okay.
Did you get the Conservation Commission to approve this shed?
The Conservation Commission did not approve the shed. They approved the major construction that we did
But, because you're inside the buffer line for the brook.
for the brook.
Yeah, shows right on your plot plan. So the one that's, the plot plan that's done in April 2nd, 2018, shows the shed almost sitting on the drainage easement, and then inside the 25-foot top of the buffer. So you're sort of, it looks to me as if you would be needing to deal with the Conservation Commission, because you maybe have put this inside the setback to the brook.
Okay, and what's the setback to the brook?
We're not on the Conservation Commission. We're
Yeah,
on the zoning
we've dealt with
board.
them
So-
for a couple of years as well.
So that was my concern when I looked at it. I noticed from looking at your photos that you have fill on back of your property where the other parcels near you don't.
Yeah, that was there when we moved in.
Yeah, yeah. But it still would be inside, the setback for the brook. I mean, that seems to me that would be an issue with the Conservation Commission. And if you had to go talk to the Conservation Commission about the extension and the work that you did in the back, I'm surprised that you wouldn't have had
Well,
to
this-
go to them for the shed as well.
Someone did, I don't know who came by our house in the fall to look at our property. Could have been the Conservation Commission, or it could have been someone from your office, but someone was
Yeah, we
at our
just
house.
closed the conservation. We, as happens, I think, our contractor never filed the final petitions, I think, for our house in the so we did this in the fall. After the shed was there, I think the Conservation Commission came by and closed we refinanced, so they closed.
Or was it an order of
Opening.
conditions that was
Yes.
Yeah, the
issued
order of
by the
conditions.
Conservation Commission?
They did
So-
that this
And I
fall,
remember-
after the shed was there, but the shed was not on our initial.
But someone did come by in October, I believe, somewhere around then, to take a look at the property, and all I remember the gentleman saying was everything looks great.
Yeah, that might have been the building commissioner.
But there's a letter in February to you that says that they were doing it, that you're here not because you're applying for the variance, you're here because you actually got a letter from the
Right, it's a
building
violation.
commissioner saying that
Right.
there's a violation.
So he must have driven by
Yeah.
and seen, I mean,
Well, sheds are, it's one of those things that people kind of know. I'm troubled by the timing of this. So you were going to do a shed that was attached to the house, and then you changed your mind. So did you get a variance from this board for the construction?
no, so our property is 10 feet or more from the property line,
Okay.
which is what, we did the construction and then we needed storage, so we were coming up with solutions. We looked into doing the attached, and I came once to try to file something, and someone here sort of said, it'd be a heck of a lot easier and less expensive to just do a detached shed than,
Yeah, except that you already knew last year, May 17, there's a letter here that says that you already knew that there was an issue with the shed.
no, when it was
no.
gonna be
Is that the
attached.
bump out?
Yeah.
I don't-
Yeah.
No, that's with the attached shed, that's not,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's not with the detached shed.
We got the detached shed probably
Oh.
in June or July of last year.
You're hearing the concern that my colleagues are expressing at a similar one. The record here shows that back in May of 17, you proposed to do this, and the need for a variance was raised with you. You apparently abandoned that, the attached.
On recommendation from someone
Right.
here, said sort of, this is crazy, this is a crazy idea for storing kids' toys to,
And you proceeded to build it in violation of the zoning,
no, we built a detached shed.
in violation of the zoning code, not within the required setback.
Right, because it was my understanding from word of mouth from whatever sources that it didn't apply to the detached shed. And that was my, not doing research on my own.
I guess the question for me would be.
I thought it was I thought something had attached to the building was what it applied to.
Right. I
And I
guess the
think-
question would be if we just had, a tent out there and we moved the tent around on a daily basis and put our plastic toys in there and moved it around from side to side. We can certainly do that with our shed. It's not it's not in concrete, it's not to the ground, but I would think that, again,
We can move our shed around
we could. I don't think
for
we would.
thousands of dollars. It's
Right.
built, we landscaped it, we built it there.
No, I'm not sure I understand what that would accomplish, but the bylaw is pretty clear. This is an accessory structure, and it has to stay within the limits. I understand the situation you find yourselves in. You're an attorney, right?
We're both attorneys.
Ignorance usually is not a defense.
But it would be quite undue hardship. We have a very small
Understood.
yard, a very large dog.
Understood.
We would tear the shed down. I mean, it wouldn't be easy to move it, and then we would have no storage.
Nope, I understand. It's, the record here is unique in that we have both a denial and then,
And that was literally, like, I came here one day with my kids to try to, I was trying to figure, we did not go very far down that path at all. It was something I was toying around with, and it was very discouraged when I came
there's a
by.
denial letter, so an application must have been
Right,
submitted.
they told me to do that and get the denial and then do the variant, the whole process was,
Any questions?
No, I mean, we've had these shed cases in the past, but this one's got a couple little twists to it.
we also, not that it's also a defense, every one of our neighbors has a shed right on their property line, and everyone around town, like, I know we should have read the code, but we honestly had no indication that a detached shed was,
There's something to be said for coming before you do it and getting the approval, as opposed to, and again, just what the
Yes.
facts here, where you were told you couldn't do it without a variance, and you proceeded to build something in violation of the code anyway. That's one way to read the record.
no, I agree. I was kind of told to do the detached shed.
Yep. Understand. And we can't speak to the Conservation Commission issue that's
Right, no.
outside our purview, but that may also be a concern here.
Right, I mean, you could find yourselves in a situation where, okay, I guess mistakes were made, and you've got an abutter who's not opposing the shed, and if we found our way to granting you relief, that doesn't mean you may not escape an issue with the Conservation Commission. It could be a very live issue. Right, and it's nothing that we can really deal with or address, but the council.
And we're
Points
trying to
that
do
out.
everything right, and we tried to, increase value we've checked with all of our neighbors. It's been a very long and stressful process for a number of reasons. And we really had no intention, we found it aesthetically pleasing. We've checked with all of our neighbors every step along the way. We've talked to them throughout this whole process. We've had no indication that anything was in any way a violation, and we did move our property our property was basically on their fence before, and we moved it away intentionally. So we have made every effort to try, we haven't tried to hide anything or do anything wrong, and there was no intent in any regard other than sort of making our property as useful and aesthetically pleasing as we could.
I guess the question is, if there's a violation, what's the substantial harm? And I'm certainly not seeing it. Maybe there is a conservation issue, which we can certainly deal with the conservation people, but we have, everyone in our neighborhood certainly knows about it and talked to us about it, and we've received no objection. We went through a substantial renovation and dealt with the trials and tribulations of that, so there was no intent here to violate the code. We decided not to go through the variance. I guess we weren't approved for the variance anyway, but.
No, I think the standard is the other way, Counselor. Nobody's entitled to a variance. You have to establish that you meet, the criteria is pretty hard to meet.
Right, and we didn't do that. We didn't go forward.
No, I'm saying, it's not that and again, I'm not sure how we're going to vote, but that the existence or the persistence of the structure is not going to cause substantial harm. That's not the standard for a variance.
What is the standard?
Well, you need to show that there'd be some sort of undue hardship. You pointed us on that. You need to tell us that there's something unique about your property that would permit us to vary the terms of the bylaws, right? That hasn't been established. But we typically do not strictly follow, because if we did, very few people would get variances here.
Right.
Usually, and you've done the right thing. You've spoken to the neighbor affected, and they're not against it. There's something about this record, though, that I want you to acknowledge, because it could be read as flouting the town bylaws, right? You come in and you're told you can't do it unless you get a variance. The commissioner comes by maybe a year later or a few months later and finds it's built. That's how the record reads.
Yes, with all due respect, it was very strongly implied to bail on the variance process and to do a detached shed
Understood.
by someone, by word of mouth. I have no idea who I spoke with or what. And that led me to believe that that would relieve us of the variance process, the person I
Understood.
spoke with. And I should have, especially as an attorney, gone and read the code myself. So I went on sort of some indication and what I observed others doing. So I apologize for that.
No need to apologize. Any other questions? No.
No, I don't have any questions.
Comments?
Well, I'm really troubled by the whole thing.
Me too.
The record is not good, and when I, in my years working as town council, and the issue about variances, they were always something that was supposed to be not given without sufficient consideration. You're not supposed to be just sort of issuing variances on a regular basis, just willy-nilly. So I'm concerned about it. Yeah, as I said, I'm concerned about the fact that, you get told a year ago not to do it and then go ahead and do it.
I'm trying to explain that. That really is, it sounds that that's the case, but it really wasn't. I came in on a whim to try to talk about the detached shed, see what it would take. They told me the whole process was applying and getting denied. I didn't even follow through at that point. And someone strongly suggested that doing a detached shed would get me out from under all of the headache of that whole process. So I should not have relied on that in retrospect, and I apologize. That being said, there really is our property is quite small. There is no place to move the shed. And if we remove it, there will be we will have no storage, so there will be a lot of children's stuff all over our yard at all times. We have no place else to put it.
Tell me about your kids. How many kids you have?
3 kids, 6, 3, and she'll be 2 on Sunday.
Wow, happy birthday.
Yeah, we did this when I was on maternity leave, the big project.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky.
Let's
Can we
go through the
relent?
process and
Yeah.
we're going to deliberate. We have to decide.
Is there
on.
anything else? I'd be happy to pursue the Conservation Commission and work with them.
Oh, that is
We-
entirely
we
separate.
can't- We
Right.
can't do anything about that anyway,
That you may
you may very well have a problem with them.
precisely.
Right.
We can't do anything about that.
That's not within our bailiwick. So the record will show that no one appeared in support or in opposition to the application, but I've already read Bryn's letter into the record.
Can I ask one question? If it is denied, can we request an appeal hearing and have people come in support? Because we have a number of neighbors that asked if they could
This
come
is the
tonight.
appeal. It was already denied. You got a violation letter. The
Okay.
posture here, you're at an appeal.
Right.
So there is no court of higher authority, I don't think. You can take it to the selectmen, I suppose, but, so this is the appeal process.
Okay.
But I don't want to presuppose a judgment here. I don't know how my colleagues will vote, but under the open meeting laws, we're required to deliberate on it and vote it on your application in open session. So I'll invoke acting chairman's prerogative. I'll go first. You've heard the concern expressed by my colleagues. And I've heard you indicating that mistake was made. You started the process to get a variance, you made an application, so you're an attorney. You knew that there was a process to go through when one was required. I'm presuming from your testimony that you did not think that a detached shed would require a similar process, because you clearly were aware of the process.
Right.
You initially filed the application, so that was denied, and you were told you had to go through variance. I am troubled by that fact that trained lawyers being put on notice of the fact that this would have been subject to a variance, when nonetheless proceeded and did this without even inquiring. That's part of the record that troubles me. All that said, I take notice of the fact that the neighbor most affected by this is not objecting, in fact is in favor of this. I certainly appreciate, and they may appreciate this fact, that if you have 3 young kids, that they're not constantly looking at your yard littered with their toys. And I think it could constitute undue hardship for this board to order you to remove the structure, given these facts, given that you've removed your garage, you have no other storage space. So I'm being overly verbose. With all that said, though I'm troubled by this application, I would be inclined to vote in favor. And I would caution you, this has nothing to do with what the Conservation Commission says. The whole issue of creating impermeable surface and affecting the brook and all that, they have an entirely different standard, and you may get it. I'm not sure how my colleagues will vote. Even if we voted in favor, you may be required to remove it by the Conservation Commission. But that's my preliminary thinking. I'd be inclined to vote in favor of this, reluctantly, because I do think that this record is troubling. So Donald, would you like to be heard?
I just have a problem with it. I really do. And I don't know that I can find that, we need to, we're drafting these decisions for variances. You have to establish, a threshold. And I don't think the facts present the hardship. I don't think there's a demonstrated, need for, hardship for sheds to start the variance process and then sort of figure, oh, well, I don't really need to do that, and then go ahead and build it anyway. It really troubles me. So I'm kind of, haven't made up my mind.
Fair.
Well, it's you put us in a tough position here. I think we all know what we're talking about here. I mean, I'll accept your good faith representations that this wasn't an overt intentional just stomping on the bylaw. You guys did do a very substantial and a very nice renovation. I know Chesterfield well. It's a beautiful street. It's an absolutely beautiful street. And you guys did a real good job. Spent some money. You obviously needed the room for the kids. And, in terms of, you're both attorneys, you may not practice land use law, but if you know anything about the variance statute, it's as we've talked about, it's very difficult, near impossible for anybody to meet the strict statutory requirements that would allow them to vary any particular bylaw. And we certainly don't have it here. Any of the factors, I would say. But, this board and let's say most any local zoning board grants variances all the time.
Actually, that's not true.
Not as
Some of the towns I've practiced in, the answer is no. you never get
Sure.
them.
Well, this board, in my 10 years on the board, we've granted these shed cases, and I think there's been a few that we haven't, but I don't know off the top of my head. But I would say that just in the overall, in light of the family situation and the intent here to to turn a property and a lot into something nice in the neighborhood. I would have a difficult time denying the application at this point, and most especially because Mr. Bryn, the most affected abutter, submitted a nice letter, well stated, that he's not concerned and he's not in opposition. So for those reasons, I would, if we had to put it to a vote, I think I would tend to vote in favor. As troubling as it all is, as we've said. But again, as we talked about, you may run into a real hornet's nest with the Conservation Commission. So.
Or in a butter. I mean, somebody else who,
Yeah, absolutely.
there's no grounds for it. I mean, they're having a really hard time coming up.
Yeah,
with
no, I
grounds.
mean, that's how it works.
No.
We can grant these, and then within 20 days, somebody else could come in and just put it into court, and you'd probably lose in a heartbeat. And so,
I mean, as I said, so the statute says, substantial hardship, specific findings that relating to the soil, condition, shape, or topography of such land or structures, especially affecting the land or structures but not affecting the zoning district in general. Literal enforcement would be a financial, substantial hardship. It does say the word financial, so I suppose we could line up on that one.
I do, and thank you, I hear both of you. I do think that requiring removal of the structure on these facts would constitute hardship. That's just one prong of the statute, as you
Right.
just read, right? But I think, as Steve said, there've been if we were to strictly apply the variance provisions, I think very few variances would be issued in this town. I don't know where that leaves us. It sounds like I would be inclined to grant this reluctantly, admittedly, just because the facts here do not. It doesn't. It makes it seem as if we're not supporting the enforcement officer, the building commissioner. There's a process that we have where people come and ask this board to vary the terms of the bylaws, and that wasn't followed here. But I also understand the need and the hardship that the applicants will be subjected to if required to remove it. So that's where I am. And I don't know the answers to this, but are we required to make a referral to the Conservation Commission?
No,
Oh, okay.
would it be?
I didn't think so, but would
Would it be?
building commissioner?
No, I'm saying.
conservation
Would
agent.
it be a possibility or consideration of perhaps, I know Mr. Prondak wants to know what's going on here with the shed, but would it make any sense to, continue this until such time as, an inquiry was made by the applicants with the Conservation Commission as to whether or not they've got an issue? Because as I said, we could just be
Yeah.
spinning our wheels here, give you a nice variance, and it all goes out the window. I don't know. You picked up on it. I mean, it's fairly obvious from the plan.
Right.
I'm of two minds on that. I mean, it sounds like we're punting.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We're here.
I hear you.
The
No, we're here
matter's
to make a
before us.
decision.
And that's why I asked the referral question, because you've pointed it out rightfully. If in fact this is within their jurisdiction, do we leave it up for them to discover it? Oh, how does that work? But
Somebody drops the dog. Wait, but they're watching television
maybe they're watching TV. That could be. But
because they find this so riveting that they're watching the
But-
ZBA.
Right, but on your point about a continuance, We're here, the matter's been advertised, no one appeared. The person most directly impacted is not objecting, in fact supports the application. I guess I don't see grounds for continuing this to
No, I mean,
I-
I think Steve's right. I mean, whatever we decide doesn't change what
what
the
the Conservation
Conservation
Commission is
Commission
going to do, right?
can do. Just because we said, yeah, you can be that close to the property line, doesn't take you out of the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission.
Right.
So, we need to decide. So remind me, what are the rules? If it's not unanimous, is it denied?
Yes.
Can we vote 2-1? Give me the bylaws,
Has
it's
to be
been a while.
unanimous. No, it has to be unanimous.
It is, okay,
Because we don't have a full panel.
right.
I mean, I'll go along with it. If yes, guys, if your sense of it is that you're going to vote, then I would vote to make it unanimous, but not happily.
I she played the kids card. That always gets me.
I'm a little,
I see that you take away the structure, you're not taking the kids' toys. It's going to be strewn all over the yard.
that's not a hardship. I mean.
No, the hardship will be in removing it.
Yeah, the hardship is removing it.
Removing
The
it.
fact that there are kids and there are kids'
No,
toys
it's the
is
impact on the,
not a
it's
hardship.
the impact on the neighborhood.
Yeah,
That's
and-
what
and-
variance goes to.
I
That's what
understand.
zoning goes to,
I
right?
appreciate that, and as I said, if you folks are going to vote in favor, I will as well. But
You don't sound persuaded.
I'm not. But I will vote in accordance with the wishes of the board. So there's not a denial.
You are the board.
No, but I mean, you know, if you guys are gonna vote yes, I'm not gonna be the person who keeps them from having a shed. But I don't like the facts of the case,
Don't need it.
and I don't like I just, you know, I don't see how it fits the terms of the variance, but I'm appreciative of the fact that, you know, there's a financial hardship involved in removing it, and that it was good faith understanding on their part that they didn't have to go through the process, but as I said, I don't like the facts very much. But it is a nice looking shed.
It's a beautiful shed.
Thank
And
you.
I would sign an affidavit under oath that I really did not think that it applied. And that's exactly why I abandoned the whole process.
No, I mean, that's fine, and I take you at your word.
Yeah,
But
I-
I mean, but
honestly-
everybody who walks in here is subject to the bylaw, and it's just, you know, it's just the way it is, and we have to sit here and try to apply to a lot of the facts here. Sometimes it's difficult, so.
We should have probably asked this question, but is there any other spot in the yard this could be moved to?
Barring sort of being in the middle of our yard,
Yeah, in the middle of the backyard.
be the
maybe.
middle of the backyard without a real opening that made,
Like on
A lot of
the
sense.
opposite end.
is another, we put up a fence on that side.
8 foot would bring you quite a bit.
Yeah, the idea with the people that put in the shed was that the driveway's down below, so when we take the toys out, we can come up,
Yeah.
you know, that way to the driveway with like bikes and all the other stuff.
What are the dimensions of the shed?
Is it 12 by 8?
I think it's 12 by 8, but don't hold us to that.
8 wide, 12 long?
Yes.
That sounds right. I remember reading that.
What do we need? We need 8 feet.
10.
Do we need 8 or 10?
The letter in May 17th says 10.
No, that was,
That was for the existing
Existing.
yeah,
building?
this says 8 feet from the side property,
Oh, yeah.
61, 62. It doesn't say anything about the rear property line, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because it is How far back from the rear property line is it currently?
They don't
We're
give that
about, what, 4
dimension.
feet?
Oh,
I think it's like
9.2?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so
9.2.
you, okay, I think it's 8 on both
Yeah.
sides, so you're
accessory,
okay
yeah.
there.
Okay.
It's just the side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
accessory use, yeah.
So if you moved it, its current location to the left, facing the brook, 8 feet.
It would probably cost several thousands of dollars, and it would not be in line with our, I mean, it would, with our driveway for getting things in and out, and it would take up a large chunk of our play space.
Yeah, you'd have some dead space on the side and the back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
That is, this is
I would,
exactly.
I would almost prefer to take it down and not replace it than to move it sort of in the middle of our yard.
Well, that's a helpful comment, actually. You know, if you're going to sort of try to look for reasons to have a variance, you want to look to see what the topography and what the other options are.
Right.
So you could then say, okay, well, if you know, if we said, you know, you have to move it, the issue is that you still have the question, well, there's a drainage easement in the back, you know, so you could beef up the decision by saying that there really aren't any other options.
Attractive ones.
Yeah.
There aren't any attractive options.
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna bring this party to a. Steve's game's probably going into the second period.
It probably is.
Tied up, 1-1.
There you go.
There we go.
Little bird told me.
Should we put it to a vote?
Yeah.
All right. On the application of the Fitzgeralds to be allowed to keep the shed as currently located, how do we vote? All,
I'll vote in favor.
I would as well.
Okay, I'm voting in favor.
And all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Appreciate your time.
You're welcome. You heard the board. There's a, I'm hesitant to say this because this is not an application for a variance as much as it is to remove a finding of a violation. Maybe that's a distinction without a difference. But
it
whatever
is.
decision we make is subject to appeal.
It's a variance.
Within the next 20 days, someone could, in the appeal that you were talking
Within
about.
20 days
is
of
to
when we
land
fire
court.
the decision.
After it's,
Well, we have to, that's true, within 20 days of us filing a decision with the clerk's office, so we're going to put something in writing. There is, in the appeal that you are referring to would be to the land court from this board. It's possible that someone could, in fact, appeal this decision. And for your peace of mind, so that you don't grow accustomed to this, and then somebody comes back down the line and makes you take it away, I would recommend you talk to the Conservation Commission. Self-reporting may actually help you. Didn't know, you've gone through this process, and there may not be an issue there. I see the map, and it seems to be within the areas that they'd be concerned about, but that's...
But maybe not.
I can't advise you. So, congratulations. This board has voted to allow you to keep it, subject to all of the appeal rights that others may have. So it'll take us a couple weeks to write this up, and then it'll be filed with the town clerk's office. You can contact Mrs. Fitzgerald. She can walk you through the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a good night.
Right.
Go.
Taking that one.
Not me, I have two to write already. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I owe
Actually,
you two now.
I would not be able to.
Two and
Yeah, and
then
hopefully the
project,
timelines don't go
Had so many issues with
Everything
will be
too
contracts.
crazy.
three after.
Thank you, I
Sure.
appreciate it.
Take
Three
care.
after.
Thank you, thank
I
you.
will
What,
not be able to get to
Wednesday?
this within the next 3 weeks.
Three
Sure,
after
take care.
Wednesday. Oh, not a problem, take care.
Good luck.
You have to adjourn?
Thanks for your help.
Yeah, we don't usually do a formal vote to adjourn, but I guess we should.
Yeah.
Do I hear a vote to adjourn? A motion to adjourn. Seconded.
Second.
We are adjourned.